All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible security that's working behind the scenes every single time we go online. We're going to see how to secure a digital kingdom, and it all starts with just one click.
I mean, really, have you ever stopped to think about it? You type in a web address, hit enter, and poof, the page just appears. It feels like magic, right? Instant. But in those few milliseconds, there's an incredible, high-stakes journey taking place. So let's follow the data.
Now, to get our heads around all of this complexity, let's use one simple idea for this whole explainer. The internet is a giant, sprawling kingdom. And every time you connect to a site, you're sending out a royal messenger on a mission. And that messenger has to be fast, it has to be accurate, and most importantly, it has to be secure.
Okay, so first things first. Before our royal messenger can even start their journey, they need to know exactly where they're going. They can't just wander around the kingdom hoping to find the right castle. They need a map.
You and I, we know places by their names, right? We know Google.com. But our messengers, our computers, they don't speak that language. They need a number, a precise coordinate, an IP address. And that's where the Domain Naming Service, or DNS, comes into play. Think of it like the kingdom's royal address keeper. It instantly looks up the name you know and gives your messenger the exact numerical address it needs to get to its destination.
And you can think of these addresses like two different versions of the kingdom's maps. The original maps, called IPv4, were great when the kingdom was smaller. But the kingdom grew so fast that we literally started to run out of unique addresses. So the map makers had to create IPv6. A new, universal map so unbelievably vast, it can give a unique address to, well, to practically every grain of sand in the entire digital realm.
Okay, so our messenger has the right address. They've galloped across the kingdom and arrived at the correct castle. But they can't just start shouting their secret message for everyone to hear. No way. First, they need to set up a private, trusted channel with the guards at the gate. This is done with something called the TCP three-way handshake, which is really just a fancy term for a secret handshake. First, your messenger sends a signal, a SYN flag, that basically asks, "Hey, may I speak with you?" The castle guard sees it and replies with their own signal, a SYN/ACK, which means, "Yes, I see you and I'm ready to listen." And finally, your messenger sends one last signal, an ACK, to say, "Perfect, I'm on my way." And boom, a reliable private connection is established.
And that handshake, that simple back and forth, is what makes that little padlock icon in your browser possible. It builds the secure foundation that lets you wrap your whole conversation in encryption. That padlock is your visual confirmation that nobody can eavesdrop on your messenger.
Our messenger has arrived, they've established a secure channel, now they're standing right at the castle gates. But they can't just waltz right in. The gatekeeper has a very, very important job to do.
This next step is called authentication. It's not enough to just say you're the royal messenger. You have to prove it. This is that moment of truth where the gatekeeper looks you in the eye and asks the most important question. Who are you and how can you prove it?
So, how do you prove it in a modern digital kingdom? Well, the strongest way is with multiple proofs. That's multi-factor authentication. The gatekeeper is going to ask for a few things. First, something only you know, like a secret passphrase. Then, something you physically have, like a royal key or a special token from an app. And sometimes, even something that you are, like your unique fingerprint or your face. When you use more than one of these, it becomes incredibly hard for an imposter to get through those gates.
So, fantastic! Our messenger has proven their identity. The gatekeeper opens the gate, and they're inside the castle walls. But does that mean they can just roam freely, go anywhere they want? Of course not.
This is where authorization comes in. Authentication proved who you are. Authorization determines what you're allowed to do. You see the difference? Just because you're legitimately inside the castle doesn't mean you automatically get the keys to the royal treasury or the war room. Authorization is what defines which specific doors your identity is allowed to open.
And how is that access decided? Well, it's all based on a strict set of rules. One of the most common models is role-based access control. It's actually pretty simple. Your access depends on your job. If you're the royal cook, you get keys to the kitchen and the pantry, but not the armory.
If you're a guard, you can get into the watchtowers, but not the Royal Advisor's library. Your role defines your access. Simple, yet super effective.
So we've covered the map, the secret handshake, and the rules of the castle. But all of this, every part of it, is governed by one single, overarching principle. This is the golden rule that every keymaker in the digital kingdom lives and dies by.
And here it is, the principle of least privilege. It's a beautifully simple concept. It just means you should only ever have the absolute minimum level of access, the fewest keys that you need to do your specific job. No more and no less.
This single idea is the absolute bedrock of modern cybersecurity. Why? Well, think about it. If a messenger's credentials are stolen or a guard turns out to be a traitor, the damage they can do is strictly limited. They don't have the keys to the whole castle. They only have the keys to a few doors. It contains the blast radius and protects the kingdom's crown jewels.
So from finding the address, to the secret handshake, to that golden rule of only carrying the keys you need, we've seen how the digital kingdom stays safe. So I'll leave you with this final question. What's one small change you can make today to better secure your own digital castle? Thanks for watching.